Good evening and welcome to the February 19th, 2026 Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, in terms of roll call, it looks like that there are 6 of the 7 trustees here, with Trustee Jennings, I believe, on her way. I have that right. We're going to begin with our awards, recognitions, and highlights, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Mixa, to introduce our student spotlight.
Well, we are excited tonight to have a wonderful student. Brecken Hoy will come up here. She is a business major and also an All-American soccer player, and she's going to talk a little bit about her journey here at JCCC and her family.
Thank you for having me. Good evening. My name is Brecken Hoy, and today I want to talk about something that has shaped not only my career, but who I am as a person, the morals and values of family and the importance of helping others. I grew up believing that success isn't just about what you achieve for yourself, it's about who you become along the way and how you lift others with you. My family taught me that character matters more than the trophies, that respect matters more than the recognition, and showing up for people matters more than being the center of attention. Soccer became the place where those values were tested every day. I had the privilege of playing for Johnson County Community College. I chose JCC because of the opportunities it offered, the atmosphere on campus, and most importantly, the culture within the team. From the very beginning, it felt like family. Family, it is a word that is used a lot in sports, but at JCC, it was real. Family to me means accountability. It means sacrifice. It means celebrating each other's wins and standing together during the losses. Family means understanding that no one succeeds alone. During my time here, I was honored to receive Offensive Player of the Year, First Team All-Conference, and All-American honors. Those accomplishments mean a lot to me, but not because of those titles. They matter because they represent the hard work of teammates who pushed me, my coaches who believed in me, and the support system that never let myself give up. Soccer taught me that helping others didn't make you weaker. It makes the entire team stronger. The best teams aren't made of individuals chasing personal glory. They're made of players willing to run the extra mile for each other, to make the pass instead of taking the shot, and to pick someone up after a mistake instead of pointing your fingers. Those lessons didn't stop when I stepped off the field this past fall. I still serve JCC as an announcer for basketball, softball, and baseball games. In a different role, I like to give back to that place that gives so much to me. I get to support current athletes during their season, highlighting their accomplishments. And I help create the same family-oriented environment that has shaped my own experience here. Helping others doesn't always mean doing something huge. Sometimes it's being the encouragement for others, sometimes it's playing a mentorship, and sometimes it's simply showing they are noticed and that they belong here too. Family values extend beyond blood relatives. Your teammates become your family, your coaches become family, and your community becomes family. When you treat people that way with respect, loyalty, and care, you create a ripple effect that reaches far beyond yourself. We live in a world that often celebrates individual successes, but true fulfillment comes from connection. It comes from knowing that you made someone else's path a little easier. It comes from being remembered not just for what you did, but for how you made people feel. It comes from within yourself and your past experiences. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: achievement fades, records get broken, and seasons end. But the impact you have on people, the kindness you show, the support you give, and the example you set, that's what lasts a lifetime. My journey through soccer and through JCC has taught me that being family-oriented isn't about where you come from and your blood relatives are. It's about who you treat people and how helping others isn't a distraction from success. It's the foundation of it. So whether you're on a team, in a classroom, at home, or at work, remember that your greatest legacy won't be your titles or awards. It will be the lives you touched, the people you lifted up, and the family you built along the way. Lastly, these values I would carry with me to my next adventure. After I receive my associates from JCC this spring, I am planning to return home to my family and finish my education at Wichita State University. I plan on finding a career where I can help those around me just as JCC did for me. In what direction that is, I'm still figuring out, but to me, that's going to be the greatest journey yet. But JCC has helped pave that path. So thank you to my coaches, Schwab and Alex, for taking a chance on me and bringing me here to JCC. And thank you to my athletic director, Tony, for accomplishing my goals and helping me excel. Finally, thank you for letting me talk here and share my experience here at JCC.
Thank you, Brecken. I'm going to have you stay right there, okay? Thank you very much for sharing a little bit. Do I have any trustees with some questions? Trustee Rattan.
What is your major and your position on the soccer field?
Okay, first, my position is center mid, and my major, so I'm graduating from Johnson County with a liberal arts degree, and then I'm moving on to Wichita State, and I'm doing either business, as Mr. Tony said, or I'm going to do nursing.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Is Dr. Mix trying to strong-arm you into doing it?
I think she's talking about Tony, the athletic director.
We're gonna vote on it later.
Yeah.
Which major. What I love is, I have student athletes in my family, and so I love a student athlete because I couldn't have juggled athletics and academics, and so the amount of discipline that you have and everything that you talked about, I mean, that speech should be framed on a wall, and I really hope your parents get to see it and see how proud they should be of their daughter. So thank you for being a leader on this campus, especially knowing that you're from Wichita, so you came somewhere that you're not familiar with. You didn't know, a lot of the kids go to the same high school and know each other. You got right in it, and in 2 years, you have left a legacy at this school, and we thank you for it. And thank you for celebrating others in all the ways that you mentioned, and just stepping up to be an announcer, winning the awards that you've won, and really being an inspiration to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Trustee Cross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was born at St. Francis in Wichita. I think
Okay.
it's via Christie now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And I've got a bunch of family in Wichita. Most of them don't like me. But do you know what finishing school for liberal arts is called?
I do not.
Law school. Have you ever thought of law school?
I have not, no. I'll have to look into
It was
it.
a good speech. It was very well written and thought out, and
Yeah.
good job.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No other? Well, Bracken, thank you so much for coming and telling us a little bit about your story. And I would just like to echo what Trustee Rattan said, which is, you came in and you took the bulls by the horn and really made sure that you got involved in all kinds of ways. And I too really admire athletic leaders on this campus because you have to be dedicated to two things and keep them both going, which can be a really difficult thing to do. So thanks for showing us your leadership. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, have a good evening.
You too.
All right, Dr. Mixesta, we are going to move on to our new campus spotlight that we've added to our agenda.
Yeah, so this month for the Campus Spotlight, we have Holly Dresser, who's going to come and talk about one of our most important departments on campus, providing a great environment for all of our students to learn. I do want to give a shout out to her employees in the office. They said they were going to shout for you back there, but
Amazing people. Wonderful. Well, hello, and thank you so much for inviting me to share information about access services, as our department plays a vital role in ensuring students and community members with disabilities have access to our campus programs and services and have opportunities for success. I'm Holly Dressler. I've had the privilege of working with students at JCCC in access services for over 32 years. Our team in access services loves what we do. Several members of our team have actually been at the college longer than I have. And sometimes length of time at an institution isn't seen as a strength, but in our area, it is a true asset. We've proven to be innovative and nimble in the ever-evolving landscape of higher education and disability services. I'm very proud of the fact that we've started programs in our area that have been taken to scale through partnerships with other college departments over the years. And I'm proud of the partnerships we've made with other institutions and leadership roles that our staff and faculty have had in organizations in this area and across the state, all working to improve access for individuals with disabilities. JCCC has a long-standing commitment to accessibility. In fact, the college provided accommodations and services for individuals with disabilities before there was any federal legislation that required it. That reflects a deep-rooted commitment and dedication to our students and community members with disabilities, and that makes me so proud. Our department includes our Access Advising Team, our Digital Accessibility Team, our Deaf Services Group, and our Accommodation Coordinators. Everyone in our department is focused on student success and student access. When I started at JCCC, the Americans with Disabilities Act had recently become law. Creating physical access to buildings and classrooms actually seemed like a heavy lift at the time. But now all of us benefit from elevators in buildings, automatic doors, wider aisles, wider bathroom stalls, curb cuts, ramps. There are now federal digital accessibility guidelines that we need to meet by April. Our digital accessibility team in access services has played an integral part in the college efforts to meet these requirements, as digital access allows all of our students, all of our community members, all of our employees with disabilities to access our online presence with the same level of ease as they access our buildings. Our access advisors partner with students who have documented disabilities, including physical, medical, mental health, sensory, learning, and other hidden disabilities to ensure every student has the opportunity to access our academic programs and campus life. The accommodations and services we provide don't just remove barriers. They empower students and to navigate their educational journeys with confidence and independence. These accommodations are all determined on a case-by-case basis by reviewing a student's disability documentation, talking through any barriers the student faces, and finding a reasonable accommodation. We understand the importance of our students' voices in our processes, and we value the connections we make with them. The goal is always equal access, maintaining academic rigor while ensuring students have what they need to succeed. JCCC is stronger, and the experiences of all of our students are richer because students with disabilities are a vital part of our campus community. The National Center for Educational Statistics tells us that 20% of college students have disabilities, and about a third of these students request formal accommodations. The number of students requesting accommodations through our office has steadily increased. We currently have over 1,000 students each semester that we work with, and last academic year we received requests for accommodations in over 3,500 classes. Students using accommodations through our office are a reflection of our larger campus population. They are students who are in dual enrollment. They are students who are traditional age seeking a degree or certificate. They are returning adults seeking a career change. They are students who are interested in lifelong learning and enjoy taking classes at the college. They are student leaders. They are student athletes. Our students study abroad and compete in Quiz Bowl. They present their research at honors conferences and compete at Model UN. They are leaders and members of clubs and organizations, and that's exactly how it should be. Our students should always be the spotlight as we work to ensure access for them. Our office provides a wide range of accommodations to meet the needs of our students, and although this isn't an exhaustive list, I thought I'd go through a few things that we do. We provide alternate formats of course content such as Braille, tactile graph and images, and large print. We determine appropriate testing accommodations like extended test time, or the use of a scribe, or a distraction-reduced environment. We ensure students are able to use assistive technology such as reading and writing software and digital math tools and communication devices. We have a team of highly skilled sign language interpreters who provide communication access to our deaf and hard of hearing students. Our note-taking accommodations ensure students capture the equivalent course content as their peers as independently as possible. We coordinate emergency evacuation plans that provide guidance for students who need assistance in the event of an unplanned campus evacuation. We provide individualized plans to accommodate students with chronic medical and mental health issues. These plans may include an occasional break during class for a student with generalized anxiety disorder, or it could be an extension to an assignment deadline for a student who's been hospitalized due to their disability. We are creative in working with our students on finding solutions that create and ensure access. We work with many areas on campus. We have strong partnerships with our colleagues. The work we do would not be possible without the partnerships and support of others on campus. And we get to work with amazing faculty who are also true partners, ensuring students have access to their classes. The impact of our work may best be understood through student experiences. And we have a student story on our Access Services webpage. If you'd like to read it at some point, take a few minutes. But students' involvement on campus and students' successes demonstrate the power of providing access to, support of, and belief in our students. So we play an essential role in fostering an accessible campus where all students have an opportunity to thrive. I believe our collective work reflects the best of who we are as a college, committed, compassionate, and continually striving to remove barriers to learning. In closing, I'd like to share a couple of lines from a passage that an interim president at JCCC shared at a faculty and staff meeting 20 years ago, but I've had it on the back door of my office since then. A student is the most important person on campus. We are not doing them a favor by serving them. They are doing us a favor by giving us the opportunity to do so. Again, so proud to be here on behalf of Access Services. Thank you all for your commitment to JCCC and the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Holly, before we ask you some questions, I wanted to see if you could indicate and recognize your staff. that is here
Yes,
tonight.
absolutely.
How many staff do you have in Access Services?
You know, I think we are at 27. Yes. Dr. Chantel Barash is in the red sweater back there.
Can you please
And
stand
she,
for us?
coordinates our digital accessibility.
Thank you.
And Linda Markway works on accommodation coordinating, primarily note-taking.
Good, can I give them a round of applause? I'm going to write that down. It's 27.
And
employees.
we have a lot of sign language interpreters. So we have a big pool of sign language interpreters.
All right, with that, any trustees have any questions? Trustee Jennings.
Holly, I just want to say thank you. I've worked, I was in Blue Valley forever and a day, and I don't know if you remember me, but we have had so many students in Blue Valley that have accessed services through Johnson County Community College, and you were like a lifeline to many of those students. And I can attest to that because I was personally involved with those students. And if it weren't for you and your team, they probably would have not even continued to move forward. So I just want to say thank you for that. I mean, it's very broad in all the services that you provide, and you make a powerful difference in every student's life that's come through here. So,
Thank you, Trustee Jennings. Trustee Carroll, did I see your hand?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Madam Chair. Holly, thank you for, coming here. You and your team are amazing. This is pretty close to my heart, but you ensuring that they feel seen, and that they're a student just like everyone else is truly special, and thank you.
I have two questions. What has made you stay for 3 decades is my first question.
I mean, when I said in my speech that I love what I do, I really do. I get to work with incredible students. The people that I work with have become my dearest friends. I mean, yeah, I love it here.
I love that you love it here. My second question is, and because you've seen 3 decades of accessibility, what role is technology playing in helping students?
Technology has been an amazing thing, and really it was, but earlier too, it's just not as many people used it. But it really has opened up so much because content that is online can be born accessible. So we can create content and have it posted online and make it accessible to everyone. When I've got a printout of something, that is not necessarily accessible to every single person who would need to access it. But technology gives us an opportunity to make things born accessible, which has been wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, thank you for coming. I have a cold, or I have several questions, and I will limit those to another time, but thank you so much. Your passion just oozes from your being.
thank
It's
you.
very evident. So thank you
Thank
for coming and sharing part of what you do with us. Appreciate it.
So much. Thanks for
Have a good
having me.
evening.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Mix, I think that concludes our awards, recognitions, and highlights. All right, we're going to move on to the open forum, and I understand we have no one signed up this evening. Just as a reminder, the open forum section of the board agenda is the time for members of the community to provide comments to the board. There's an open forum every board meeting, and you may sign up for the open forum section out front about 15 minutes before the meeting. But because we have no one signed up this evening, we don't need to address that. So we're going to move on to the board reports. And we're going to begin with Mr. Gonzalez. Welcome back, Oliver. Student Senate report.
I hope I can continue the momentum from those first 2 speakers.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
All right, so starting off, my name is Oliver Gonzalez. I'm the Student Senate President here. Recently, we've had 4 new senators who've been elected. These are all people who are committed, and on the horizon, we have 3 new who are going to be sworn in next meeting on next Monday, as well as a couple others who are showing interest in the Senate. So we're getting a lot of people into the Senate. This is good. We have a new public relations executive board member. This was technically the beginning of the semester, but this is my first time speaking here this year, so I just thought I'd announce that. And then we have upcoming Senate elections from March 23rd to March 26th. Also, another thing I would like to highlight is that the Student Senate is really pushing for the role as a voice of students. So recently, as an executive board, we've been pushing for our senators to go out and find issues on campus. And this has really brought interest in the Senate, and I think it's really made us so we can elevate issues. And so some of those issues have been, we've noticed that, or that have been reported are, there's lack of windows in the doors and stairwells. So it's a security concern as well as a safety concern. So people who fall down the stairs or something, no one can see them in the stairwells, and so they won't be able to be seen. The door can be opened without noticing someone behind it, so they can be hit when they're opened, as well as maybe someone might jump them in the stairwell. So there's safety concerns there as well. There's a plethora of others, but we're making sure we connect those with the right people. And moving on, student and club organizations. We have 2 funding requests that were approved. Luna and International Club both requested funding and got approved for their events. And we've had 1 new club, Allied Scholars for Animal Protection. You may have seen their posters around campus. They're pretty involved, which is a good sign for a new club. And then we have a few upcoming events. So we have upcoming fundraising. We're doing for next year's Senate to have an easier time with events such as JCCC Gives or Trick or Treat for Kids. We're doing this through standard fundraising we've typically done in the past, such as Chick-fil-A or Raising Cane's. But also a new thing we've done, or we're going to do, is Just Giving campaign. And so we're working with the bursar's office. I know that several sports teams on campus have used this, and it's great success. It's basically like a text message you send out, and anyone they want to send out their family, their friends, anyone who wants to support the JCCC community, they can go and do so. And then finally, my last thing on my report is we have an upcoming Student Senate Service Week. So we're working with Clear Connect and other people like charity and others, not charity, but volunteering work. And this will be on April 6th to April 10th. And so that concludes my report. I'm now open for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Oliver. Any trustees with any questions for Oliver? Trustee
I have
Jennings.
one. So the Just Giving campaign, when will that start?
I'm unsure on when it's starting. I believe it will start definitely, I think, by March. But
By March,
we're having someone
okay.
come in this next meeting to come talk about it and educate our senators on what it
Great.
is and everything.
It's a great idea.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Any other trustees? Questions? Oh, did you? No? Okay. Oliver, thank you very much. I would say for the giving plan, make sure that you send some links over to the president's office. There's some people at this dais who think you're pretty important, and we'd love to participate.
Okay, I'll make sure to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your report tonight. All right, always light and breezy and full of positive news. We have our college lobbyists, Dick Carter, coming to the podium to bring joy and cheer to all.
It's not easy being breezy.
Well, it's hard to believe that we're now 6 weeks into the legislative session, and today is the turnaround deadline for first turnaround. So bills that started in the House have to get over to the Senate and vice versa. When I left Topeka to head over here, the House was still churning through bills. They're now done with at least the bills that they're going to work the first part of the session. We'll see if they bless any bills. Senate did not bless a whole lot of bills. That term means that it gives life to bills that don't meet the deadline for turnaround periods. And we're going to start this all over on Tuesday, the 24th. So budgets have not been debated yet. That's the big ticket item for us. They have been worked in both the House Appropriations Committee and in the Senate Ways and Means Committee. I'm not sure when the House and the Senate will take those up. It's usually a full day of debate on the respective floors when they entertain the budget. There's more than just us that's in the budget. It's a full day of amendments and the respective chairs defending their budget positions. We went into that process this year offering up a $10 million gift to the legislature by realigning some of the CTE courses, meaning that those courses would not be funded. And so usually you don't give it the office before the process starts. I think that there was an idea that if we show that there's some understanding of what's going on at the state budget level, that they would take kindly to us. I think for the most part that's probably played out, although this past Monday we saw a few additional haircuts in the Senate committee when they were addressing some of the higher ed budget issues. We know this much. We'll receive the amount that we need in tiered and non-tiered funding. That's always a concern, especially since some of those dollars come in after the coursework has been delivered. We'll see dollars coming through in capital outlay as well as dollars from the business industry and apprenticeships program. There's a difference in the House and Senate position as of Monday on student success dollars. So we'll have to see what happens on the House and Senate floor once the budget starts being debated. Usually there are not a lot of adds, but there are attempts to further cut. And so I think that that's something we'll have to remain vigilant for once that process starts to play out. And then the real issue and the fight comes in the conference committee process, where the three leaders on the Senate Budget Committee, the three leaders on the House Budget Committee sit across from each other at a table very much like this and work out the budget differences. And that's where we have a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on. So we'll be waiting for that. That'll all occur after the turnaround period over the course of the next month. The other big issue that we've been talking about is property tax. And there's lots of proposals out there. A lot of them do different things, whether it's freezes, whether it's flat out cuts, whether it's caps. The one that seems to have some momentum and the one that we're tracking through the process was supposed to be debated on Wednesday on the House floor. That didn't happen. We're not sure why. We're not sure if there were amendments that were still being prepared, if we're still trying to get our arms around what that looks like. But House Bill 2745 will be debated when the legislature returns. That is a property tax lid, very similar to what we would have had in 2015. There are elements for growth. So it's not just a straight up cut or a cap, but there would be a 3% allowable growth, as well as the ability to capture some of the developments that are coming online. The bill was amended in committee to make it more palatable for local governing bodies, meaning that there was an election requirement that you would have to have your budget voted on by the public at a public election most likely in whether it was August or November, 18 months in advance. Now think about that. That's not terribly workable in a situation where you can't plan for some of the expenses. That provision was amended back to a protest petition, which is very similar to what would have occurred in 2015, meaning that individuals who are opposing the budget could collect signatures, and we would have to start that process over again. It's a much more workable solution for someone who opposes a budget or a group of people who oppose a budget than an election process. So that piece is in the bill. A couple of other amendments that were put in were carve-outs for bonded indebtedness. If you have bonds or debt that you're servicing, obviously that can't be subject to a 3% cap. And so that was approved by the tax committee in the House, as well as inclusion of cities in what we're calling the ASTRA fund. So we used to talk about LAVTR, which was the fund that would give back money. It only did it for 2 years, dating back to 2004. If you met certain budget criteria or if you met certain criteria as it relates to the mill levy. So this new fund would be called the ASTRA fund. It would reinstate that type of process. The college wouldn't be eligible for those funds. It's counties and cities, but that's another element that was put into the bill. So we'll see what happens on, I think it's going to be Tuesday is what they're saying. Of course, we were told Wednesday of this week that the tax bill was going to be heard. But that'll be a big piece moving forward. I think the interesting thing to note is all 125 members of the House of Representatives are running for office this year. And that is going to be a big item when they're campaigning. And so I think both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, are looking for a way to support meaningful legislation that demonstrates some attempt to cut property taxes. So I think that'll change what the outcome of a vote looks like in the House. We'll see people that you might not normally think would be voting for something like that actually approving that bill to move forward. We think this is the bill that's going to make its way through the process, so it would go over to the Senate once it clears the House, and there's no telling what the Senate will do to it. And again, we fixed those errors, or not errors, but we fixed the differences, I guess you would say, in the conference committee process. So let's talk briefly about a few higher ed pieces and news in higher ed. You probably read at the end of January that Board of Regents CEO Blake Flanders, Dr. Flanders, announced his retirement at the end of the current fiscal year, so June 30th of this year. That means there'll be a change in leadership at the board level. We think that is interesting, just given the fact that there is a lot of talk about the changing face of what higher education looks like. And that will be an ongoing conversation with regard to whether it's in the two-year sector, whether it's at the Regents university level. There is this discussion at the legislative level about changing what that looks like. That will play into that. A few bills of note. There was an affiliation bill that was heard earlier in the session, House Bill 2523. That bill was permissive in nature, that would allow affiliations of community colleges and technical colleges with state universities. There were some other strings tied to that bill that maybe it wasn't exactly as permissive as it appeared on the title. I don't think that bill is going to get worked. It certainly was not passed out of committee and will not meet any of the appropriate deadlines for turning around in the process. There's a nursing instructor bill out there that we dealt with last session, and we saw it come back again this year. It was introduced by the nursing care facilities, nursing homes, and it's interesting. It would have the level of instructor only be one level above the course being taught. That's not consistent with the way we do things around here. And while the bill doesn't require us to do that, it certainly creates some interesting issues in that healthcare community. To prove what the disconnect looks like, a conversation occurred in the House Appropriations Committee about the level of care certain individuals were receiving. These were relatives of some of the legislators sitting around the dais and at nursing facilities. And that it was not up to standard. Think about what that looks like then if we're going to change the level of instruction that we're providing for those folks who are going to be working there. So that's just kind of some of the conversation that goes on in Topeka about things like that. We did oppose that bill in committee. It came out and passed the Senate 38-2, and it'll be over in the House at this point. There's a pharmacy benefit manager bill that has a potential cost to the college as far as costs being passed on. That is a bill that is also making its way through the process, and we'll continue to monitor that and watch that, but just wanted to mention it for your awareness. Finally, there's a workforce Pell Grant bill that directs the governor to set up a workforce development board. The bill doesn't really require anything that's not already required through the federal process. It's interesting that an outside of the state group would recommend this bill, but we see a lot of that in Topeka these days. And so that bill is also, we're just watching it as it moves through the process, and we'll continue to make sure that we're engaged on the new workforce Pell Grants that are coming out of DC. Finally, the legislature is off tomorrow. They're off Monday. They're giving themselves a break for all the hard work that they've done for the first 6 weeks. And we'll start back up in earnest on Tuesday. And we sort of just start over. We kind of kick off that process and go back through the bills and work them back across the respective aisles. So, Madam Chair, I would stop there and attempt to answer any questions that there might be this evening.
Thank you, Dick. Any questions? Trustee Cross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Carter, for your presentation, and thank you to all the legislators and legislative research and everyone that puts in the time to be there. Do you know who funds Meals on Wheels?
I don't know.
Google AI says it's largely the Federal Older Americans Act and the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services, but it's administered locally by the Johnson County Area Agency on Aging, JCCC. So, you know, the state and the federal government like to issue these mandates And then the cities, municipalities, and school boards, like, we're left to do the things that they tell us to do, and often we have to pay for them. So while I appreciate the legislature, sometimes some of them can be dangerous as they're running around searching for solutions, because they hear and see, and I've seen it. I support and have many friends in that legislature, and I love them, but they don't always know what they're talking about. So like, they want to lessen the tax burden on some of their citizens. But is there any idea who's going to pay for these things, these basic and essential services like water, if they're cutting local property taxes? Are there alternative solutions as to who's going to pay for this if they cut property taxes?
Yeah, I can't really speak to that element specifically. I would say that this board in particular has always been very vigilant about that conversation and having the difficult conversations and looking at the budget internally. The budget workshop process that you go through and the conversations that you sit around and this table and have those hard conversations. I think you're going to have to pay particular attention this year to what that final outcome might look like come April when the legislature's done talking about it. Because I think that does impact the conversation that we have later on in the summer and in the early fall when we're having those budget conversations, what that looks like. It's a well-known fact that this board is very aware of what the budget and the mill levy looks like, and I think that we're looked at in Topeka as an example of maybe what other institutions ought to do, and so I think that conversation could become even a little bit more difficult this coming summer and fall.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yep.
sorry. And Mr. Carter, thank you for that. And I don't ever mean to put you in an awkward situation, and really I'm talking to everybody in Topeka. Okay, so if there's no plan to pay for the things they're going to cut, who's going to deliver the essential services that we got to go cut because they're cutting local property taxes? Are there solutions or any state proposals as to starting new state agencies or making arrangements, or who's going to pay for schools, who's going to pay for Meals on Wheels or administer Meals on Wheels or mental health? Or Commissioner Becky Fast is a friend of mine and goes to my church, and she gave a great presentation, really in like a hour on everything that the county does here. And we're blessed in Johnson County to have the money and wealth and real estate wealth that we have, and let's not pretend otherwise. But at the same time, the county and the schools deliver tremendous services that we have to pay for. And like right now, I think the burden is like at 66 to 68% on the local taxpayer, and that's high. And while I may be liberal or a redistributionist, like, I challenge this board to be aware of that rate, and it's high. We have, with my support and many of our support, realize we need to raise tuition and fees consistent with inflation. But we're keenly aware of what we're charging in terms of taxes and the mill levy, and the need that we need to, the money we need to meet the need for our mission. So are there any designs for new agencies, or who's going to deliver these services?
Yeah, I can't speak to that.
Okay. So then, is it the first 10 or 20 mills of K through 12 that go back to the state?
First 20.
Yeah, Kansas has got the goofiest tax system, save maybe Missouri. And so are they mad that we're charging all this money, or are they mad that they don't have it in their general fund?
Well, you should also know that the 20 mills are typically exempted from any of the caps or cuts that are part of the ongoing property tax discussion. And there's a level of awareness in Topeka about that. I think folks who are elected to represent us in Topeka are ever concerned about the court cases surrounding K-12 education, and so there's a fear of doing too much there as far as what those cuts would look like. But the 20 mills are still part of the property tax that's collected. You can add the local option budget on top of that. Those numbers get pretty high depending on where you're at in the state. So
really one final thing, because I'll talk to you all night, and I'm sorry to keep you, and I thank you for the time, Madam Chair. You know, once upon a time, in proving there's no hero worship in politics, is Bill Clinton, right? Before he shows up on certain lists and files. But Bill Clinton lost his reelection to governor in 1980 in no small part because, let me get this right, he and his administration thought that they were going to fool people by passing fees on major highway programs and increased taxes on motor fuels and higher registration fees for automobiles and trucks. So if they're gonna cut our ability and interfere with local control, then are these geniuses gonna figure out ways to pay for it? Are they gonna raise the income tax, which they're all, since 1990, that's been an anathema. I mean, are they gonna go find ways to raise fees and other alternative, what's the term, revenue enhancements?
I think we're going to have to increase the charge for your electric car that you drive to.
Look, I thank you, Madam Chair. I just thought I'd ask some questions.
Any other questions?
Quick question about the workforce Pell group. So we talked about this a little bit when we were in DC, and I was under the impression that there was already an existing committee in Kansas that can kind of work through this. So, but from what you're saying, it sounds like the legislature has to put together this committee it'd be the governor who'd be operating it, but it doesn't exist currently?
Well, I think we're going to have a little bit more of a conversation on that internally with some of the folks at the college about how we move forward and what that looks like, and making sure that we're in alignment with what is already occurring at the federal level. I don't think the bill's necessary. I just wanted to make sure that we have an awareness of it. We see a lot of these types of pieces of legislation that come from think tanks outside of the state. And we have a legislature who's willing to hear those bills and sometimes advance them. So that's kind of the position that we're in right now.
Because I had it wrongly or appropriately assumed that Kansas Works would be the group that would work through this, so. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Trustee Holton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to make sure I understood you correctly when we were talking about the nursing things. Did you say that our nurses aren't as qualified as we want them to be, and we're saying we need to increase the education for those nurses that we're putting out into the system?
So the nurses that come out of JCCC
Yeah.
frequently score higher on their state boards than nurses who are coming out of other schools and other four-year programs.
Okay.
We're doing it very well. I don't know, I'm guessing here, but I think that almost all of our instructors are at the master level for the nursing requirement. What the bill would say is, and again, I don't know the distribution levels of the various nursing programs, but you could have an LPN teaching a CNA. It has to just be one level above to be an instructor. It's a permissive bill. It doesn't require that, but it does create issues when you talk about staffing, when you talk about class levels and who's offering those programs. I think we're going to continue, and I shouldn't speak for academic folks, but I would imagine we would continue business as normal here. But it creates an issue with the workforce and the type of product that you're putting out there if you're lowering the standards of what those instructors look like.
One more?
Yep, go
Thank
for
you. Do you guys talk about, or does the legislation talk about any sort of legislation around the loss of talent that we have in the state of Kansas that tends to go maybe to other states, and that we aren't doing as good a job of maintaining people in our state? And if they do, what do they say?
Yeah, one of the outcomes of a conversation just like that would be the Kansas Promise program, and it was designed to be the last dollar scholarship for students in Kansas to go to a two-year college and then stay in Kansas. And there would be a two-year work commitment for something like that, and it's designed to keep that talent here. There are other programs, and certainly the Department of Commerce is very well aware of what that looks like, and keeping that talent in Kansas, whether it's retraining. There's retraining dollar incentive programs that we probably help with through some of our certificate or continuing education courses. So yes, that conversation is ongoing. It's not always prevalent, but that there is an awareness of what that looks like.
So I know I could go find this data, but is it showing that this Kansas Promise program is doing what it's set up to do?
I think so. We have students that are enrolled in that program. It's a little bit more difficult when you're a border, when you're a community on the border, because students don't want to limit themselves to just having to stay in Kansas when you might get a job offer in Kansas City, Missouri, which is just 10 minutes away. And so, you know, you have that same thing when you look at some of the other border colleges that are close to other states, whether it's liberal, whether it's Cali County, or even in the northwest part of the state. I think that they're working. The programs are, they've hit the level of where we're at as far as the available dollars to be used for those programs. So those are great questions, and I think it's a conversation that does continue.
Thank you.
It's ongoing in Topeka.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Dalton. Trustee Cross.
It's two brief things, Madam Chair. Mr. Carter, I don't mean to embarrass you at all, because I think your extemporaneous presentation tonight has been great. Was there a memo you gave us this week, this month? Did I miss it?
A memo?
No.
Report.
The report?
Yes.
Your legislative report.
Oh, yeah. I think it's like
I missed
7
it.
pages.
I'll
It came
get
late today, I believe,
Okay.
right?
That's
Thank you for
correct.
that.
Yep.
Because really, you had a lot of great information tonight. And then number two, on the nursing issue, and my mother's an LPN graduate from this school, and we have the money and the capability to keep doing what we need to do. Who's pushing the lessening of the standards for the nursing standards?
Yeah, the bill was introduced by a group called Leading Age. It's an association, if you will, for nursing care facilities.
And I would imagine, both my parents are from rural areas, like, there's a need in rural Kansas for this? Is that?
I think there's a need all over.
All over, okay. So I'm just trying to understand, because I don't really want to diminish at first blush if there's a need. Thank you, I was just trying to understand.
Okay, any further questions? All right. I did have one, Dick, when you went over the tiered and non-tiered, I didn't quite catch the end of that. Are we set to get currently about the same? Is that our anticipation, or are we?
There's a formula that goes
Right.
into producing what those dollars look like, and it's actually an increase because of the course load and the number of students. So we will get what we are expecting
Okay.
in those two categories.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate your report, and appreciate you being there in Topeka. It's always a fun ride this time of year. All right, thank you so much. We're going to move on to our shared governance report with Caitlin Krumsick. Welcome, Caitlin.
Good evening. I am Caitlin Krumsick. I'm the director of our Academic Achievement Center here on campus. So today, Jamie Cunningham, who's the ABC chair, Ann Turney, who's the staff council chair, and myself had the opportunity to talk with the Rising Leader Academy here at the college, and we got to talk about chair governance. I think that this time was meant to benefit these folks as they learn more about chair governance, but if I'll be honest, I feel like I walked away with some really good reflection time. So my thoughts here are new reflections of only about 5 hours, so bear with me. But one of the themes that came up again and again in the answers that we gave to these folks, really their thoughtful questions, was that so much of the work that we do as chairs, and more broadly the work that members of ABC Staff Council and College Council do, is really relationship building. Now this may seem rather obvious, but I am somebody that has no relationship building skills in my top 5 strengths. So this was kind of a revelation to me. I am definitely far more comfortable with agendas and to-do lists than I am with any kind of meet and greet situation. So I've shared a lot in this report that shared governance has been working on strengthening communication, but I think one of the core tenets of good communication is relationship building, and today really reminded me of how important that is. So I would just want to take a quick example of the 3 chairs, so Ann, Jamie, and myself. Prior to this year, I really didn't know either of them well, personally or professionally. Ann and I had some occasions to collaborate in our work with students, but rarely do I work with science faculty, and had little reason to interact with Jamie. But one of the things I wanted to do as I moved into the college council co-chair role was to foster better communication between the three councils. So I put together time on our calendars every 2 weeks just to chat. I assumed that this time would be spent talking about what's going on in staff council and ABC and discussing what topics would bubble up to the college council level. But that is only part of the fruit that has come from these every other week conversations. More than just discussing business, this has become a time we've gotten to share our different perspectives as staff and faculty, which is very valuable. We've gotten to learn more about each other's jobs and the challenges and joys that come with our work. And we've gotten to hear about vacations and kids and life. And so in this time, I've gotten to know them on a deeper level. They've become colleagues whom I respect and whom I trust. I think generally college employees build strong relationships with their peers and their colleagues and the folks they work closest with. But how are we working to build relationships between faculty and staff, between administration and employees? And how are we dedicating time to building those relationships? Because it really does take time. If memory serves, Dr. Mixa posed similar questions in his remarks in January. And while I don't have answers to these questions, I do believe that shared governance has a role in all of this. And I do think we've made some strides in this area just in this last year. So the PLD pause was an opportunity for folks to get out of their offices, away from their regular work, and connect with one another. And Staff Council is launching Coffee with Staff Council as a way to get to highlight different areas across campus while also making space to allow employees to get to know one another, again, outside of their offices and away from their daily work. My hope is that shared governance can continue to provide opportunities like this to make space for employees to get to know one another, regardless of job, employee classification, or title. And ultimately, through these relationships, we as a college can have better communication, problem solving, and respect for one another. So those are, again, very raw thoughts, but that is my report for this month, and so I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Caitlin? Trustee Rattan.
Just to say thank you for that report, and I do agree that I think relationships are the intangible thing that gets work done faster or better or under budget, et cetera. I think it leads to the tangible results that we need, but we don't feel it or touch it or see it, but it goes so far. So thanks for sharing that.
Trustee Jennings.
I also want to thank you because you started out saying that those relationship building aspects are kind of not your wheel, but the fact that you really walked away today and really reflected on that, thank you for your vulnerability in sharing that, because, you know, we all kind of come at our world in our own little way. The only other thing I would say is that, you know, I think trust and relationship is the very most important thing, and it also leads to higher satisfaction in your job.
Anybody else? Caitlin, thank you for your report. As you were speaking about relationships, I have shared on the dais many times that my father was part of the culinary team and worked here for 17 years. And he fondly spoke about the Lens group that was his orientation group because he maintained those friendships for the 17 years he was on campus and still to this day. So, you know, 27 years later, people all over the campus that he would otherwise not have interfaced with at all, that became really great colleagues, lifelong friends, mentors. And at the base of all of it is the relationship. Our humanity is what binds us. And for all the talk of AI and our polarization and all the ways in which I think we can get pulled apart, in the end, our humanity connected with another person can build anything. And I think that's really one of our untapped potentials here on this campus, is so many people with so many incredible skills to offer, that if we can tap into all the ways that we can work together to do amazing things, we can be excellent beyond our wildest imagination. So thanks for speaking to that tonight. Appreciate that.
And I do want to be clear, we're doing a very good job as it is.
Of course we are.
I am simply saying that I think we as shared governance can step into that space.
It just tells you, you know, it's like leveling up, right? Like, yes, of course we do that. In many ways, the Lens Group thing has been around forever, but doing it more, let's say, with more purpose is a great thing to speak to. And I appreciate you telling your part of that story. So,
Thank you.
Have a good evening. All right, with that, we're going to move on to our Faculty Association report with Ms. Olivares. Did I do it right? Did I butcher? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Irene Olivares, Associate Professor of History, President of the Faculty Association. In this report, I want to highlight faculty who are advisors for our student organizations. And as I was looking through the Get Involved page where all of the events are listed for our student orgs, I was like, wow, these are very exciting things that I wish I could participate in. And I do want to say that there are very many organizations on campus because of the financial support the college provides to make those opportunities available to our students, and then also the great work of the staff and student life who put all of this together and support our students. And I do want to emphasize that all of these student organizations are student-led and reflect the interest of students. Faculty advisors are there to assist them and help the students carry out their goals. Several of the organizations I'm going to highlight have faculty and staff who serve as co-advisors. So speaking of areas where faculty and staff can collaborate, advising student organizations seems to be one of those great areas. I want to start off with Hugh King. He's an associate professor of electronics, and Professor King advises the Autonomous Vehicle Design Team. This design team does hands-on work with robotics, drone technology, computer programming, and mechanical and electrical engineering. Danny Alexander, professor of English, and Azadeh Rafizadeh, assistant professor of mathematics, advise Roots and Routes. Roots and Routes uses cultural events and programming to advance respect of Arab and Asian customs and cultures. Amanda Glass, Associate Professor of Chemistry, advises the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, known as GSA. Students in GSA come together for socializing, understanding, and support. Lauren Kimball, Associate Professor of Animation, advises the Animation Club. Students in this group draw games, have draw pile sessions, which I had to look up. It's like collaborative animating sessions, host movie nights. And I do want to say Professor Kimball, her students, she encourages them to participate in international competitions, and consistently JCCC students in her animation class score high and win all sorts of awards. And I think Dr. Mixa heard some of those presentations when you attended our division meeting, and I know that was a long time ago, and you've had life since then. Professor Eric Glorg, Associate Professor of History, advises History Club. History Club hosts faculty and student speakers at weekly meetings. Last semester, I remember one of the students presented on artifacts that they personally own, and artifacts from World War I, so that was really, really exciting. Peyton Reichert, Assistant Professor of Business Administration, advises the newly established Finance Club. This club focuses on financial literacy, investment, and real-world business skills. I met with Professor Peyton on the day that this club was going to meet for the first time, and so he was very excited to share what they were planning. Omar Conrad, Professor of Philosophy, advises Christians on campus. This group meets for prayer, Bible study, and community service. Professor Conrad also wanted me to share that the philosophy department gave out 4 $500 scholarships this year to students in philosophy classes. And this scholarship was created by Professors Omar Conrad, Dennis Arjo, and Don Gale with proceeds from their co-authored textbook, Ethics Introduced, Readings in Moral Philosophy, first published in 2019. And I do want to say, if I'm not misremembering, that book came out of a sabbatical. So kind of showing how sabbaticals give back to our students. And then these are the following clubs have faculty and staff as co-advisors. So Beth Gully and Marianne Kunkel from English and Erin Hertel, writing tutor, advise the Creative Writing Club. This club hosts workshops and activities that allow students to share their love for writing and share and read each other's works. Emily Plotkin, a counselor, and Michelle Benjamin, the suicide prevention coordinator, advise Active Minds. Active Minds raises awareness of mental health issues on campus. Ann Dotter, Associate Professor and Director of the Honors Program, and her team, made up of Melissa Nolan and Reagan Baker, advise the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. Kotoko Grass and Yosei Sugawara, professors of Japanese, and Karen Miller, director of global engagement, advised the Nihongo Club. The Nihongo Club hosts Japanese conversation tables, cultural workshops, and volunteer opportunities. So those were the student clubs. I do want to end by letting you know and inviting you to an event taking place in the CoLab next week. Next week on Tuesday at 12:30, Susan Johnson, professor of engineering, will explore the mechanical tool that built the 20th century in an event called Engineers, Slide Rules, and the Analog Age. I added that to my calendar because it sounded very exciting. So if you're available next Tuesday at 12:30 in the CoLab. I can take questions now, but I'm not sure I can answer any questions related to these orgs.
Any questions for Irene? All right, Irene, thank you so much for your report. As I've said before, I really appreciate how you really, we aren't here 9 to 5, so we have a very limited scope. And when you come in, you really broaden that for us and give us such a great picture. I'm always amazed at the amazing activities and clubs that we offer for students. And the faculty involvement is something I hadn't thought of, but of course, we have to have our faculty advisors being part of that. And that's a great contribution that I appreciate from our faculty. So thank you so much for your report.
Happy to share it. Thank
Have a
you so
good
much.
evening. All right, now we're going to move on to the Johnson County Educational Research Triangle with Trustee Rattan.
So, JCERT received $2,204,337.99 in sales tax in January of 2026 and distributed $736,000 to each of 3 university entities. This is an increase of $36,000 to each entity from 2025. And the transfers were made to the universities on February 5th of 2026. Thank you.
Did that conclude your report?
That concludes my report.
All right, very good. Thank you. We're going to move on to the Kansas Association of Community Colleges with Trustee Cross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have a report, except I did feel compelled to reiterate from December. We met in December. We'll meet by Zoom in April, and then we'll meet in June at Allen County Community College. And I did mention, I'm not sure if I shared with everyone, Heather Morgan, our executive director at KCCC, sent our legislative agenda and some other items in December that I'd be happy to share with everyone, especially our 2 new trustees, or maybe I send it to Caitlin, and then she can forward it out. So no real meeting. We did have donuts with legislators in January, and I just thought I'd share the legislative agenda so people were aware of it, and that concludes my report.
Any questions? Trustee Cross? Okay, we're going to move on then to Trustee Mitchell with the foundation report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Johnson County of the Year was selected for 2026, and it is Greg Musil, former JCCC trustee. He will be honored throughout the year and at some enchanted evening in November. The foundation executive committee and directors did meet in January. The committees were provided updates on the facilities master plan and the role the foundation may play in raising private funds to offset the cost of the plan. Midwest Advisors reported on foundation investments as of December 31st, $48,709,039 is currently invested at Midwest Trust. Of that, $34 million in change is endowed and $14 million in change is non-endowed. In the calendar year, there was a little bit over 13% increase, which was a positive change of $4,367,481 in market value. The foundation has taken steps recommended by internal auditor. Policy statements are in review and will be voted on in the April board meeting. Open Pedal payroll donation campaign allows JCCC staff and faculty to contribute to JCCC Foundation through their biweekly payroll. In calendar year 2025, this effort raised $34,000 and increased participation from 4% to 8%. The funds were contributed to the Basic Needs Center. In 2026, employees voted to use the funds raised to support the meal share program. I have some save the dates for everybody. The Spring Foundation Community Social is March 31st from 4 to 6 in the Hugh Libby Building. The Scholarship Lunch, which is a huge favorite for everybody, is Tuesday, April 21st from 11:30 to 1 in the Cap Fed Room in the Rayner Center. The end of the year foundation lunch will be Wednesday, May 13th from 11:30 to 1 in the Cap Fed Room, also in the Rayner Center. Summer Sips and Scholarships is Wednesday, June 17th from 4 to 6 in the Wiley Hospitality and Culinary Academy. Co-chairs are Christy Stewart and Christy Heller. Some Enchanted Evening will be November 14th, 2026, and the co-chairs for that are Dr. Tony Mixa and his wife Deb Mixa. And it will be the 40th anniversary of the event. And I think that concludes the report for the foundation.
Very good. Any questions for Trustee Mitchell? Trustee Mitchell, I have a question for you. What was the date of the SIPs and scholarships? June?
The Summer Sips and Scholarships is June 17th from 4 to 6.
Thank you very much. All right, any other questions? Very good. Well, that concludes our board reports, and we're going to move on to our committee reports and recommendations. I will begin with the Audit Committee. Please bear with me as my cold has taken over my throat, so we're going to try to do this without a coughing fit. The Audit Committee met, and Dr. Mixa is so excited to be sitting right next to me today. Audit Committee met at 9 a.m. on Thursday, February 5th in this room. All those that were present are listed in the report. Updates on the activities and audits. The quarterly projects update. Mr. Johnson updated the committee on the activities of the last quarter and outlined the department's plans for the upcoming period. Mr. Johnson reported that the Audit and Advisory Services team had collaborated with a third-party vendor to complete an Information Technology General Controls Review, referred to as ITGC. Additionally, Mr. Johnson shared the results of the cash handling review conducted by the team in January. He noted that the cash count variance was deemed immaterial and the recommendations were made to enhance controls around this process. Mr. Johnson also reported on the progress of enhancements to the ethics report line, which for those of you that have been paying attention, that is something that Mr. Johnson has worked on overhauling a little bit and getting better communication out to people on how they can file an ethics report. He noted that these enhancements will streamline the case reporting process and improve analytics. An online training module for the report line is currently in development. Looking ahead to the upcoming quarter, Mr. Johnson noted that the department will conduct a banking and investments audit. In addition, as part of the department's professional development goals, team members will be attending the Great Audits Mind, GAM, conference in March. Mr. Johnson shared an update on the status of the open recommendations, which you can find in your board report. Of the 8 open recommendations, 7 are from the recently concluded foundation audit, which are being addressed. As mentioned in Trustee Mitchell's report, all recommendations are being addressed. Mr. Johnson also presented the ethics report line update for the quarter. Between October 16th and January 21st of 2026, 81 reports were received. 61 were entered by identified reporters and 21 were entered by anonymous reporters. As of January 21st, 2026, 70 have been reviewed and closed, and 11 are in process. We then conducted an executive briefing after the audit meeting where we went over the findings from the results of the IT General Controls Review. Just to add a little bit more to that report, this is the first time that the audit team has done this kind of large-scale IT audit. And so I want to give kudos to Mr. Johnson for leading that up and for seeing that as sort of one of the areas where in his particular team there isn't experts on campus in the IT audit world, and that's a very important skill set, but also a real big vulnerability for us with our size and the amount of technology we use on campus. So everything that the company found is all being worked on, and nothing to mention, but just that in audit, in the world of audit, really recognizing the areas in which we have great experts on campus. They have a very small team, and they do a lot for us internally, but there are other places where, that expertise will give us an understanding and be able to, pull back the covers on some things that maybe we need to be aware of. So With that, that concludes my report. Are there any questions about the audit committee? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the Board Governance Committee by Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. The Board Governance Committee met at 11:45 a.m. on Wednesday, February 4th in this room. Information about that meeting can be found on pages 4 through 5 of the board packet. We did a review of 100 series policies. Kelsey Nazar, General Counsel, led the review of the following policy: the Code of Conduct Policy 114-01, the Code of Ethics Policy 114-02, and a Resolution of Censure Policy 114-03. The Board Governance Committee did not propose any changes to these policies. And then we had a retreat planning discussion. I led the discussion on the agenda items for the next board retreat. I discussed possible topic ideas such as facilities master plan and strategic master plan. The retreat will be planned for a date in March or April of 2026, and I think the process of getting that set up is underway. On the 2026 working agenda, I presented the board governance working agenda, which can be found on pages 4 and 5 of the board packet. And with that, I have a recommendation, Madam Chair.
Yes.
It is the recommendation of the Board Governance Committee that the Board of Trustees approve the 2026 Board Governance Working Agenda.
Okay, moved by Trustee Mitchell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Jennings. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All opposed? All right, this carries 7-0. Thank you. Trustee Mitchell, you may proceed.
The next Board Governance Committee meeting will be on May 6th of 2026. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very good. Any questions for Trustee Mitchell? I will just say, since we were going over dates, we are tentatively going to pencil in April 4th as our retreat. So if you want to pencil that in, that was the only one we could all agree on. That is Easter weekend, so we're looking into whether our staff
date
is
was it?
available.
Sorry.
April 4th.
It's Saturday, April 4th. Tentatively, we're going to see about that, so. Just want, I know our schedules fill up quite quickly, so. Moving on, we are going to go down to the Employee Engagement and Development Committee by Trustee Cross. Trustee Cross.
Madam Chair, April 4th, I might be at the Final Four. Like,
Sorry, you're not allowed to.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. The Employee Engagement Committee, didn't this used to be HR?
Yes.
Yeah. The Employee Engagement and Development Committee met on Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. We had Christina McGee, the Vice President of Human Resources, provided the committee with an update on some of the human resources initiatives, which included a status update on the compensation study RFI development and implementation timeline, the HR procedures webpage. And she noted that a recommendation for the benefits consultant company will be shared at the March Management and Finance Committee meeting, though sadly not with our committee. Ms. McGee also provided the committee with a status update on the college's strategic bridge plan employee engagement goal, sharing that key metrics for measuring employee engagement have been finalized at the college as the college looks to increase the average job satisfaction score. She also indicated that sub-teams of JCCC employees are being formed to help assist the strategy teams. It's bureaucracy, it's awesome. For the recruitment and retention, organizational culture, and employee development areas of the bridge plan. Ms. McGee shared that Human Resources has also been working on several internal strategic initiatives, and she pointed out the top 5 items in progress. 1, the HR procedures webpage. 2, developing an HR dashboard. 3, launching an employee benefits survey. 4, tailoring recruitment communication to potential applicants. And 5, designing and implementing career development and succession planning procedures. Ms. Rachel Haynes, Director of Employee Engagement and Development, and Dr. Faral Janab. Thank you. Director of Faculty Development, presented updates on attendance at fall and spring classes and professional learning days, PLD sessions. Ms. Haynes reported that pausing college operations to allow employees to attend the president's remarks and shared governance updates resulted in the highest attendance of the week with 770 participants. Ms. Barbara Cooper, Director of Human Resources, presented the results of the 360-degree supervisor evaluation. Ms. Cooper explained the supervisor evaluations are launched each November and measure how satisfied employees are with their supervisors. Ms. Cooper noted that the scores for most questions are trending higher year over year from 2023. And I will say that a lot of work went into that result. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for employee engagement with Trustee Cross? All right, seeing none. Trustee Cross, I think you're off the hook, and we're going to move on to
Thank you, Madam
Trustee
Chair.
Mitchell once again this evening. Trustee Mitchell with the Management and Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Management and Finance Committee held their meeting at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, February 4th in this room. The information related to that meeting can be found on pages 9 through 12 of the board packet. Here's some reports. Auxiliary Operations Update. Ashante Thompson, Executive Director, Auxiliary Services, presented an update on auxiliary operations, including the bookstore, dining services, and Hirschsteiner Child Development Center. He reviewed the organizational structure, current operational initiatives, strategic plans, and financial results for the past 5 years. Financial ratio analysis. Megan Casey, Vice President, CFO, reported on the college's fiscal health using the Composite Financial Index CFI ratios based on audited financial statements for the college and the foundation for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. This information is compiled annually to track financial ratios for JCCC over time and provides comparisons to selected comparative institutions. On the other agreements front, Rachel Lears, Executive Vice President for Finance and Administrative Services, presented an agreement with Great Jobs KC. Details can be found on the consent agenda portion of the board packet this evening. Tom Hall, Associate Vice President, Campus Services and Facility Planning, provided the committee with information on facilities projects from the capital acquisitions and improvements matrix. The Management Finance Committee has the following recommendation to present this evening. I'll get to it in a second. Jim Fikert, Executive Director, Procurement Services, presented a recommendation, and here it is. It is the recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the proposal from Bull Creek Construction in the amount of $414,629 with an additional 10% contingency of $41,463 to allow for possible unforeseen costs, for a total amount not to exceed $456,092, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Mitchell, seconded by Trustee Cross. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I did not have discussion.
Oh.
I need like a Post-it that says discussion. Is there any discussion?
It's not so easy sitting there.
It's not. You sit next to him for 2 years and you think, let's do it. And then you're here and a little more. Yes,
You're doing
Trustee
great.
Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask, have we worked with this construction company before?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
They're currently engaged in some classroom projects on campus.
Okay. That was my only
Other
question.
questions?
For years, we've used them for years.
And just a comment, I forgot to mention, this is for active learning classrooms, of
Yes.
course. Yes.
Okay, Trustee Rattan.
I do not have, it was something else.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, so we're just going to redo that. Sorry, Liz, we're going to just redo that. And all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. All right, is that, do you have any more to your report, Trustee Mitchell?
Assuming we follow our normal schedule, the next committee meeting will be on March 4th in this room, and that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very good, thank you. Yes.
I did want to say, I know that when we review the auxiliary services, it looks like they're losing money and we subsidize them, but I do think that it's a priceless service with childcare, cafeteria, and Dining service, well, cafeteria.
Dining,
Bookstore.
Childcare and
bookstore,
bookstore.
childcare.
It's a priceless benefit that a very valuable benefit we provide to the students that are here, and I'm glad that we do.
Thank you.
Trustee Cross and then Trustee Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, I thank Trustee Rattan for raising the issue, and I know I asked several questions about auxiliary services and why we're subsidizing it. I agree with Trustee Rattan that it's important to feed people, and that if we brought in merchants, that they probably lose money, so we'll just go ahead and lose the money and subsidize it for, our students to meet the mission of a community college. So I commend President Mixon and his administration for doing that. And then I've been here, like, we have trimmed the budget and limited the auxiliary services ability to, sell books and do different things. So some of it has been self-impaired, and I had requested a 10-year look back on what we had been spending on auxiliary services, and it's come down. So we've asked them, frankly, to do more with less, and I really appreciate it. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to let, you probably know or trust this, but the public know that we ask questions, and
Right.
I grilled them.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Trustee Jennings.
I would just want to add to that, that those auxiliary services are what allow our students to be on campus and stay on campus and continue with their education.
At the last ACCT conference I was at, one of the headliners spoke about single moms, and the single biggest barrier was childcare for them to return or to invest in trying for college anyway. So the fact that we can provide that, and I feel like we have a universal feeling that it's an important investment back into our students so that they will stay and complete their goals. So, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, Trustee Mitchell, thank you very much for your report.
You bet.
And we are going to move on to Trustee Jennings with the Student Success Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Student Success Committee met at 9:45 a.m. on Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. Information related to the meeting can be found on pages 13 through 15 in the board packet. Curriculum updates were shared by Dr. Barry Bailey, professor librarian, who explained the process of bringing curriculum to Student Success Committee meetings. It's kind of, they've shortened it, so it's not item by item by item, and so it made a lot of sense. So thank you, Professor Bailey. Affiliation agreements, new and renewal. Dr. Gurbishan Singh presented a contract renewal from V2X Professional Services for the Automotive Technology Department. Details can be found on page 26 in the consent agenda of the February 19th board packet. There was a grant update by Melinda Bryan Smith, the Executive Director of Grants Development, and Anthony Fenari, Senior Grant Professional. They provided a report on grants leadership and development. Melinda explained the life cycle of a grant, planning, preparation, and post-award services. She said grant fund scholarships not only in academics, but also in the WDCE and finance and administrative services. Total grant dollars awarded for the fiscal year 24-25 from federal, state, and private funding was $2.3 million, with 48 active grants totaling $4.4 million. Anthony presented community outreach grants that include Japanese language learners event, the U.S. Department of Agriculture Cultivate KC, and National Education Association Foundation that is part of the Envisions Equity Grant. Melinda listed all of the internal departments that the grants office is fortunate to work with, and thanked them all for their support. And I just want to add that they pretty much touch every department. They really get out there and do their work and provide support and encouragement for people to actually apply for grants, and kudos to them. Communications, English, and Journalism Division, Dr. Brian Shaver, Dean of Communications, English, and Journalism, provided an update on the division. He explained the two departments were combined to create the division. Communication Department is made up of Communication Studies, ASL Deaf Studies, Foreign Languages, and Healthcare Interpreting and the English Journalism departments is made up of English, Journalism, and Mass Media Communications, and English for academic purposes. Excuse me. Dean Shaver highlighted campus and community engagement achievements, including the Stein Speaking Showcase, a science fiction convention, the JCCC Japanese Shorts Festival, and the Cavalier Conference on Writing and Literature. The division also offers many curricular and co-curriculars, including new courses in African American literature, sports media, and Las Pintas Service Learning Experience. Co-curricular activities include debate classes, the Student Media Center, and the Messenger. Debate classes are consistently rated among the top in the country. The Messenger is the official student-produced news website, which is also a learning lab for students interested in journalism as a career. And it was kind of resurrected just a couple years ago, and I think it's doing really well. So again, kudos to that. Dr. Jay Andel and Dr. Allison Rost Allen provided an update on the Center for Sustainability. Jay shared the Sustainability Policy 217.10 and the history of sustainability at Johnson County Community College beginning in 2008. He also highlighted the many awards the department has won, including the 2025 Gold Stars rating, with JCCC being the #1 community college in the U.S. and 5th internationally. The Open Petal Farm is a 4-acre farm on the northwest side of campus, which is a lab for the Sustainable Ag program. The Student Sustainability Committee helped with many projects in 24-25, which included the honors pumpkin carving, the making of Our Planets Live, the cider and sunset, and an e-waste recycling event. Allison highlighted curriculum updates. Curriculum enhancement, JCCC's Sunflower Project, with over 92,000 students completing a sustainability-focused or inclusive course from fall 2013 through spring of 2025, which is amazing. The Sustainability Distinction Program consists of 12 credits plus additional activities, including a choice of 3 credits from each sustainability pillar. Those are social, environmental, and economic course options. Allison discussed the collaboration with students in the arts contest and the upcoming events, which include this coming April 15th, the Expired Cans to Compost event, and the Thrift to Thrive collection and personal shredding events, all in April. She also thanked the administration for their continued support of sustainability on campus. The next meeting of the Student Success Committee is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my report.
Jennings, any questions for Trustee Jennings? Thank you very much. And with that, we are going to move to the President's recommendations for action, starting with the lovely, ever-present Trustee Mitchell with the Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board packet, pages 17 through 25, includes the Treasurer's report for the month ended December 31st, 2025. The first page of that, which is page 17 of the packet, includes the general post-secondary technical education funds, which are the primary operating funds of the college. Not in your packet, just for information, the state operating grant payments of $12.8 million and an ad valorem property tax distribution of $70.5 million were received during January, and that will be reflected on next month's report. Expenditures of the primary operating funds are within the approved budgetary limits, and I have a recommendation. It is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees approve the Treasurer's report for the month ended December 31st, 2025, subject to audit, and I so move.
Okay, Trustee Mitchell moves, Trustee Rattan seconds. Any discussion? I remember this time. All right.
Very good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Cross?
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. All right, trustee Mitchell, does that conclude your report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That does conclude my report.
Sounds good. All right, Dr. Mix, that brings us to our monthly board report from you.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. First off, the enrollment report should be at your desk or at your place there. In general, we are a little bit behind last year at this time. We had some withdrawals. That could be because of the timeline of withdrawals at this time versus last year, but down in head count about 78 students, and then in credit hours about 187 credit hours. So, but we'll continue to work on enrollment and making sure that it's where it's at. So again, a little bit about timing, but essentially we're flat from last year to this year at this point in time. On our workforce development and continuing education side, we've trained about, I almost had the wrong number, 11,344 students this year, which is about 65% towards our goal of about 17,500 students. So we're moving along at a good pace there as well too. So I feel good about that. Feel good about both of them as we continue to move forward. And some other bits and pieces of information. In the workforce development and community education area, we received a CDL grant for veterans and their families. And so this is a great grant where it will pay for 9 people to get their CDL certificate as they go through that grant. It's through the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And this is, I think, the 9th time that we received the grant, and for a total of $797,000 over the years that we've received it. And we've impacted about 112 students in that grant, so it's really a great thing. I think also what makes it really important is, what's this program, about $5,000 or $6,000, somewhere in that range? $7,000, so, and this is a non-credit program, so there's not financial aid for it, so this is a great opportunity to help our students as they work through that, and we have a wonderful CDL program that we have on campus. In dining services, they're offering something new for me. I think it's something that they've done in the past, but they're calling it Crack of Dawn. So they did this on January 29th. There was a pop-up omelet bar by the bookstore, so it was really cool. The great part about it is they asked me to come along and do a little work. I tried to hang with Chef M, but I was nowhere near the omelet maker that she was. The headline after it said, flipping omelets all over the place. I happened to miss the thing. I've been working on my beans to flip for the next time we do that, so we're excited. But we did sell between 30 and 40 omelets, and we have another event coming up that will do that, so we're really excited to do that. So it was a lot of fun, and I think it goes back to that dining services part of auxiliary services, trying to do different things to engage people throughout the campus. I might just want to reiterate that we chose the Johnson Countyan of the Year, Greg Musil, and Deb and I as chairs of Some Enchanted Evening are trying to figure out how we're going to celebrate that night. There's a lot of ideas out there. I don't want to bring them forward at this time. Deb would be excited, or Deb wouldn't be excited, I should say.
No, she would not.
We got to do I got to do noon at the Nerman yesterday, so this was something that I was a little bit nervous about for my, if any of the math folks are out there listening, I'm not cheating on you, but I got to talk about art in the public setting, so that was a little bit nerve-wracking for me. But I got to discuss the meaning of one of the pieces up there. It's the one where you walk up the steps, and it's kind of like the gown that has all the dog tags in it by Do-Hoo Soo, if I pronounce that correctly. But for me, as a math person, so this does go back to math, you know, as you walk up or walk into that room, you see the symmetry of those dog tags and the really the circle on the ground and just the kind of the beauty of the piece. That's what I saw in it as well too. The other thing though, I think when you get close to those dog tags and you take a look and you think that they're all the same, but they're really actually all different. There's no names on them, but they're all kind of random dog tags, which for me then kind of went to that idea that, well, when you look from a distance, things can look the same, but when you get up close, people are different, or these dog tags are different, which to me represents people, represents the college. We have a lot of great people all working towards that same thing, but we all come at it from different angles or look at it very differently, so that's kind of what it reminded me of from that perspective. Next week, we're going to be hosting the League of Innovation on campus, so this is pretty cool. We were at the last meeting, and there was a chance that the college that was supposed to host this month wasn't going to be able to do it. I can't remember what was it for, because the president changed. I can't remember.
Yeah, the president left for a job in a think tank in D.C.
Yeah, right, right. So they looked at us, and I was like, well, I'm still pretty new at the college. I looked at Nikki, and I said, sure, let's do it. And I came back and asked Caitlin, and she said, we're going to really do this. I said, yeah. So we are doing that. So we're excited.
She didn't say, what have you done?
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that she did say that.
Okay, all right.
So how many people are coming? How many schools are coming? Can you do that off the top of your head? I don't wanna put you on the spot.
There are 19 schools, and so we've invited I think every institution will be here except for one.
Right, so we're,
17 others plus us.
yeah, so we're really excited. We have a couple days of meetings, and then it's going to cap off with the event at the Midwest Trust Center that we have, and also with the baking,
Experience the bake sale.
Yeah, the bake sale. They'll be able to have an opportunity to get some food there as well, too. On the academic side of the house, our faculty are doing great work. In fact, everybody supports our students, but our practical nursing program had a 95.5% pass rate in the fall. Is that correct? Is that the timeline? So that's a wonderful, well above the average, and just goes to show you the quality of our faculty in that program, the quality of work that they're doing, and why credentials and what they have happening is so very important. I think another thing that is happening on campus that was great, so last night I got the opportunity to be with trustees almost all night. It's been just a wonderful experience.
Bonding, lots of bonding.
So Trustee Mitchell, whose name has been on everything tonight, Trustee Hutton, and also Trustee Carroll, and I, Holton. I said it wrong. I gave the,
I'm leaving.
we can't let that happen. You got too much work ahead of you. But anyway, we got to be at the basketball game last night, along with many faculty. Irene was there as well, too, with a lot of faculty and staff, and we got to cheer on our basketball teams. We cheered on the women. They had a great victory, pretty big victory, pretty substantial victory. In between games, though, one thing that was also great, the trustees, myself, the faculty, the staff, we all got to go out in the court, and we've got to recognize all of our athletes who had great GPAs. I believe we recognized 134 athletes who had a 3.0 or greater GPA. And they called out their names. They got to walk by us. We kind of fist pump them a little bit or whatever. So that was a great opportunity to really celebrate that as well too. Another of the thing that I thought also was wonderful. Not only do we have 134 or so athletes have a 3.0 or higher, but we had another 50 that had an actual 4.0 GPA. So going back to that conversation around auxiliary services and the dollars that we spend there, athletics is similar. We spend money there, but you can see that those students are retained at a higher rate. They are successful at a higher rate. They graduate at a higher rate than our traditional students many times. So it is a retention and success initiative that we have there as well, too. And then to end that part of what I would say is we are also, I like to brag, we are the only men's and women's basketball team across the country that is undefeated, and that's not just an NJCAA, that's at all levels of athletics. So I'm looking out at Chris, this is a marketing opportunity, let's get this thing rolling.
I noted this morning on 96.5.
Awesome.
And 610.
Awesome. Well, we're looking for interviews on that big sports network that's on TV across the country. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And then the last thing I'd say is I had the opportunity again to spend time with some trustees in Washington, D.C. at the legislative agenda. They were rock stars that were out there, so I'd like to just step back and say, would the trustees like to make any comments about the time that they spent in D.C.?
I'll go. So it was a wonderful conference, and we had the opportunity to speak with Sharice David's office, and then also Senators Marshall and Moran's office. They have been very supportive of us and all community colleges. And the focus of the Legislative Summit this year was really financial aid and strengthening the bedrock of the different grants that are available. One of the shining moments for ACCT is that they've worked for 12 years to get the short-term Pell Grants that's on the non-credit side, and they've achieved that. And so those will actually be open for application starting July 1 of this year. They're still working on what the money's going to look like, and apparently that's going to happen in April. So it's still kind of a work in progress, but it's a pretty exciting, really exciting, I think, thing that we're doing as a nation. So good for us. I would just say that on our campus alone, we have 4,600 students this year who are receiving Pell Grants. So it's a big deal. And now that they're opening the short-term Pell Grant, there's only so much money in the Pell Grants. And so, and we have across the nation, there's 150% more students applying for Pell Grants. So the dollars are going to be stretched even thinner. And so one of the asks of ACCT when we went to our legislators was to raise the amount to match what is costing us every year. So we were asking for like $200 just to keep it going. So I'll be quiet unless let others talk. It was just pretty exciting. We learned a lot.
Trustee Rattan.
I'll say the most exciting thing for me was seeing Manu Raju from the news talk. That was really cool. But there was a discussion about how cuts to Medicaid and SNAP and changes in student loans, those are all affecting students. And we think everything's in separate pots, but it's all connected to student success. And I'll be honest that it wasn't a lot of happy conversations. There's a lot of discussions about changes to the Department of Education and some of that getting put into different departments, specifically the Department of Labor.
Most of the departments have moved out.
Yeah, it's almost a lot. And so for me, I think, labor is one thing and education is another. And yes, they do have a lot of overlap, but, for education, we're just not trying to have people who are turning widgets. We're trying to have that and critical thinkers. And so definitely something that's concerning. But great to have a lot of people who love education. The numbers that we were given were 557 trustees, 203 presidents, 115 students, and 315 colleges were there. I always say I'd love to consider bringing a student there. I think it's very eye-opening to see all of these people who are invested in education. And definitely great to talk to our legislators. And I think that we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and serving the students and meeting our students' needs in spite of the changes that are happening. I think that we will find a way, and I walked away feeling that my fellow trustees and president feel that we will find a way to continue to serve students despite or even with the changes that happen nationally.
Can I just add one more thing?
Trustee Jennings, and then I'm going to go to
Trustee Rattan. It has to do with the hope of bringing a student, if not two, next year. Because was an aha moment for me, is that those community colleges that brought students, when they talked to the legislators, those legislators want to hear what the students had to say. They wanted the stories, because that's what drives them to make positive bill changes and vote for the things that are most important. So I think that it would be great if we could bring a couple students.
I will just comment before we move on any further. We have done that in the past.
Oh, yeah?
So if we need to get back to
We
that,
do.
we can certainly get back.
Awesome, thank you.
Trustee Carroll, did you indicate you wanted to say
Yes,
something?
thank you, Madam Chair. Trustee Holden and myself went out a little bit early to attend the new trustee academy with several other, community college new trustees from across America, and it was really great. Ran us through the gamut with different scenarios and role-playing and how we can support, obviously, our respective colleges, our presidents, cabinets, and everything like that. One of the big things outside of everything that's already been mentioned, going back to auxiliary services, was childcare. That was a huge topic of discussion during the conference, and I was so excited, felt lucky that we already had that established here because every breakout session or room we went into, that was a huge point of interest. And I definitely appreciate it. And I definitely echo being able to bring a student or two because it is really impactful.
And we experienced that firsthand.
For sure, yes, yeah.
All right, Trustee Holden, did you indicate you wanted to say something?
Sure. I wanted to echo what Trustee Rattan said. Also, I appreciate the time that the legislators did spend with us, or our representatives from here, and I thought the group that spoke to them did a good job. Dr. Mixa and the rest of the trustees that spoke to them did a good job of representing Johnson County Community College, and putting forth the things that we feel like we need. It was very cool to see the power of all those people from all over the country that are like-minded, and the fact that education needs to be a big priority, and there are things that we need in order to maintain the success we're having. And the biggest thing that I learned was, to echo the Caitlin, I think, that came up here and talked about getting to know people and breaking down walls, was I learned from my fellow trustees who will walk in the cold with you.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Who will stay up late with you supporting your alma mater. Okay. And who will engage in icebreakers with you. And I didn't get a lot of people taking on that one, so there was some fun stuff there. That's awesome.
Very good. Any other trustees?
Shout out to Kate Allen, who's
Yes,
the GOAT.
yes. I did not get to attend. Oh, who else?
Just very
Trustee
briefly.
Cost.
Yes, how many veterans do we have on campus? Do we know?
We don't have that number to hand, but
McKenna.
at last count, it was over 300.
And a quick Google search shows that there's about 600,000 or so veterans nationally that receive that use GI benefits. Of that number, 38 to 40%, so like 250,000 veterans use Pell Grants. And we're blessed to have services here for veterans and help people come back to school here after serving in the military. Both my brothers did. After they got out of the Marine Corps, they had the best bang for their buck here. So I felt compelled in what I call lobbying week, which I'm not supposed to call legislative summit, that we do a lot for students and for veterans. And we thank Senators Marshall and Moran and Representative Davids for all they do, because they really do steer a lot of grants to us. And I thank them for making time for us. And as confusing, difficult, and frankly stupid this time is, there is governing in good faith by some people on some levels, so that's nice. So thank you all for going, and thank everybody that made the meetings happen.
Okay. Trustee Mitchell.
Just to kind of echo what Trustee Cross was talking about, we did mention our veterans programs to all of the legislators, and Senators Marshall and Moran in particular Senator Moran in particular, but both of them were very interested in that. And unfortunately, we did not get a chance to talk directly to Ms. Davids, but I think it was a very important thing that we discussed that with them, and they were happy to hear about that, and they were very interested in that.
Okay. Anyone else? No, please. Okay. I do want to say that I think we have brought a student in the past, and we have not done a great job at keeping that going and being really purposeful about the students we bring to tell the story of our college, because we're all a bunch of fuddy-duddy adults, and we're speaking to a bunch of fuddy-duddy adults. But when you have a student that comes in and they get to tell their story and how our institution impacted what's going on, those are the things that our legislators tend to remember and keep with them, and they like to go out and keep them. And I think just because Oliver has remained for the entire meeting, that he should be nominated as option number 1 for the next conference to drag to Washington, D.C. It is also one of my fondest memories in the 6 years of service I've been here, that when we did that, the student that we brought had never been to Washington, D.C., and we had 4 hours before we had to get on the airport. And Kate and Greg Musil and I got to every possible point of interest we could go to in those 4 hours and jam-packed it, and she had a blast. She thanked us a million times for getting to get a little glimpse of the Capitol, and it was a great memory that I know has kept with me, and I am assuming has stuck with her as well, and I think we should offer that from our students. So being intentional about, vets who are Pell Grant recipients would be a great example of us utilizing students that we already have that are receiving great things from us, but tuning into what our legislators need to hear, our federal delegation needs to hear from us, is a great next step. Trustee Jennings?
And I would just say, bringing it full circle, bringing that student to those offices, it was that relationship, you could see it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, with that, Any question, or do you have more on your report?
I was just going to say, again, you guys, great job. I really enjoyed it. And even Trustee Holton and Trustee Carroll, when I looked at, because the script didn't have you speaking, but when I looked at you, you guys just dove right in and got it done. So that was wonderful. So we do appreciate it. That is it.
All right. Any questions in general for Dr. Mix's report? You covered quite a bit, pretty quickly.
I also learned that Trustee Holton can be President Mix's stunt double.
He did get
He
confused.
got confused.
Because I did walk up to her afterwards and she goes, I got confused. I thought you were here with, when I saw trustees.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay, well, I do. I have a couple things I wanted to bring up. So going back to the League of Innovation, I just wanted to say, I hope that you all include us if there's any opportunity for trustees to come and welcome those schools, because I think it's a really important thing. I know they often bring the president and a few staff.
This is different than the site visit. This is just the league board meeting. We're
Okay.
just simply providing space for them.
Gotcha.
So it is a little bit different than when they come for a site visit.
Will still say, I think it's important that trustees welcome people on campus along with the president, and I would like to be, any of us included in just doing that, just at the beginning, so they know that we appreciate them. And appreciate Dr. Mixa extending the invitation, whether we knew it was coming or not. But I just wanted to speak to that and wondered if you could speak to, if we're hosting them, where are they going to be, all over campus? Are you doing different, because it's several days, you said, right?
Yeah, it's basically starts on Wednesday, goes till Friday. Well,
Okay.
Yeah, so the first day are the league representatives, and then the next day are the league representatives and the board members, and they will just be over in RC in the CapFed conference rooms.
Gotcha.
For the most part.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if we were going to try to give them a glimpse of every part
We've
of
got a few
campus.
tours planned.
Okay. Very good.
And then some dinners, but
Yeah.
typically they're just kind of in meetings.
Yeah.
Dr. McLeod has been to several meetings, and he can kind of speak to that, but they're really just meeting all day, 8 to 4.
Yeah. Okay. And then, no, the bringing students to ACCT, that was it.
We're good.
So we covered that.
We'll get that done.
All right. Very good. With that, we are going to move on to new business. I'm not aware of any new business. And I'm hoping that means we have no new business, so we're going to move on to old business. I'm also not aware of any old business that we need to wrap up or discuss. So that's going to take us to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is items that are brought up in a routine nature that we approve in one motion. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the packet on pages 26 through 33?
So moved.
Trustee Cross moves.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Mitchell. Any discussion? All right, with that, all in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, thank you, Trustee Cross, making your voice heard.
Emphatically.
And making his voice heard. Any against? Do I have any against? All right, hearing none, the motion is approved 7-0. I'm losing it at the end of the night, as you know. Okay. That takes us to executive session, and tonight I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session for consultation with the legal counsel regarding a pending personnel matter, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. No action will be taken during this session. The executive session will last for 15 minutes, beginning at, do we need a bio break before? Okay. We'll do, beginning at 7 p.m. and ending at 7:15 p.m., at which time open session will resume at the same location. Invited to join the executive session are all board members in attendance, Dr. Tony Mixa, Rachel Lears, and Kelsey Nazar. Do I have a motion?
If I may, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do we really need to label it a bio break? And I meant to always ask Trustee Rail why she would say that. Like, we could just say, do we need a brief break?
I will, from here forward, Trustee Cross, refer to it as a break.
I think there needs to be a motion.
No, I mean, bio break.
I want to vote on this.
I just don't like it. I just don't like it.
Okay, so understood, recognized by the board chair, sir. Who made that motion now? Motion made by Trustee Mitchell. Did you make the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Made by Trustee Mitchell, and who was it seconded by?
No one. I second.
Trustee Cross, I think, yeah, I thought it was you. Okay, so we will begin at 7 PM right over here in the Lytle Room and return after.
So this is the bio break?
Oh, we need to vote. Gentlemen, come back.
Now we lost a
Still,
minute.
we're all.
Now we only got 4
We need to
minutes
vote
for a
on
bio
going
break.
into executive session, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion moves 7-0. We are now moving to executive session.
3 minutes.
All right, we are back. We had just exited from an executive session where no action was taken, and I will entertain a motion for ending the meeting.
Madam Chair, move to adjourn.
All right, Trustee Mitchell, and seconded by Trustee Cross. Any discussion? Good. All right. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. 3, 4, 5, 6 to 0. Thank you. That concludes our meeting.
Hey,
Thank
we're going
you.
to college.